Hello po, kumusta po kayo? Magandang araw po. Salamat po sa panunood ha. Mag-aral na naman tayo ng Tagalog. In this lesson, I will be discussing Tagalog Possessive Pronouns, the words we use to show ownership. These pronouns are essential in everyday conversation because we use them whenever we talk about things that belong to us, to someone else, or to a group. But don't worry, I'll break everything down step by step so you can understand the patterns, the placement, and how to use them naturally in sentences. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to express ownership confidently whether you're talking about your things, someone else's things, or things you share with others. Magsimula na po tayo. Tagalog actually has 14 possessive pronouns. And don't worry, they're easier than they sound. These pronouns come in two versions, a long form and a short form. The long form is the one you put before the noun, and the short form is the one you attach after the noun. So they mean the same thing, but the placement changes how you use them in a sentence. For example, akin and ko both mean my, but akin is the long form and ko is the short form. Same meaning but different position. And this pattern repeats for all the other pronouns. Your, his or her, our, so the inclusive and exclusive, your plural and their. So in total, we end up with 14 possessive pronouns in Tagalog. So in this lesson, we'll go through them in a simple, clear way so you can start using them naturally in your conversations. Before we start, let me share our objectives for today's lesson so you know exactly what we're focusing on. So eto ang ating mga layunin sa aralin na ito. Una, you will identify all 14 Tagalog possessive pronouns and see the difference between the long form and the short form. Pangalawa, you will understand when to use the long form and when to use the short form, depending on where the pronoun appears in the sentence. At panghuli, we will use these possessive pronouns in simple Tagalog sentences so you can show ownership naturally when you speak. And of course, we will also have our memory trick. O sige, magpatuloy na tayo ha. This table lists all 14 pronouns side by side so you can easily see which ones are long forms and which ones are short forms and what each one means in English. Take a moment to look at the patterns. You'll notice that every long form has a matching short form, and the meaning stays the same, only the placement in the sentence changes. So here is the table showing all the 14 Tagalog possessive pronouns. So we have akin, ko, iyo, mo, kanya, niya, atin, natin, amin, namin, inyo, minyo, kanila, nila. Now, one very important rule: you cannot use both the long form and the short form in the same sentence. You choose one or the other depending on where the pronoun appears. Remember, the long form goes before the noun and the short form goes after the noun. So even though the meaning is the same, you only use one form at a time. Here are the 7 long-form possessive pronouns in Tagalog. These are the forms we place before the noun to show ownership or relationship. So here is the complete list. Number 1, akin, meaning my or mine. Number 2, iyo, meaning yours, singular. Number 3, kanya, meaning his or hers. Number 4, atin, meaning ours, including the listener. So this is inclusive. Number 5, amin, ours, excluding the listener. Number 6, inyo. This is yours or your in plural form. And number 7, kanila, meaning theirs. So these 7 words are the base forms of the long form possessive pronouns. You'll notice that each one stands on its own and can appear before the noun in a sentence. So remember, long form means pronoun comes first. It gives the sentence a fuller, more formal, and more emphasized tone. Now that we've seen the long form pronouns, let's look at the short form possessive pronouns in Tagalog. These are the forms we place after the noun. But here's an important additional detail I didn't mention earlier. The short form can also come after the verb, but the long form cannot. So here's the complete list. Number 1, ko, meaning my. Number 2, mo, meaning your. Number 3, niya, meaning his or hers. Number 4, natin, meaning our, including the listener. Number 5, namin, meaning our, excluding the listener. Number 6, ninyo, meaning your, in plural form. And number 7, nila, meaning their. These 7 words are the short forms. They always appear after the noun or after the verb they describe. So for the long form, we have 7, and for the short form, we have 7. Now let's break it down and start with akin versus ko. Let's look at how to say my in Tagalog using 2 forms, the long form akin and the short form ko. They mean the same thing but they appear in different positions. So in this table, we have 3 examples. Aking bahay, my house. Aking anak, my child. Aking pamilya, my family. Each paired with its own short form version. Bahay ko, anak ko, pamilya ko. And also notice that we used a linker G for akin because we are linking it to a noun. And since akin ends with letter N, so we use the linker G. So it becomes aking bahay, aking anak, and aking pamilya. Here's our first example. Ang aking bahay ay 2 palapag. Ang bahay ko ay 2 palapag. My house is 2 stories. Notice how aking comes before the noun while ko comes after the noun bahay. Number 2, ang aking anak ay mabait. Ang anak ko ay mabait. My child is kind. Same meaning, different placement. Number 3, ang aking pamilya ay masaya. Ang pamilya ko ay masaya. My family is happy. Again, the long form leads the phrase and the short form follows the noun. So, akin before the noun, ko after the noun. The meaning stays the same, only the structure changes. Now, let's look at how to say your in Tagalog using the long form iyo and the short form mo. Both mean the same thing, but just like earlier, the long form comes before the noun and the short form comes after the noun. So here in our table, we have three examples to compare them side by side. Example number 1, ang iyong bahay ay malinis. Ang bahay mo ay malinis. Your house is clean. Notice how iyong comes first while mo follows the noun. And also notice that we are using the linker ng here because iyo is connecting to a noun, bahay, and iyo ends with a vowel. So that's why we are using the linker ng and it becomes iyom. Example number 2, ang iyong anak ay masipag. Ang anak mo ay masipag. Your child is hardworking. Same meaning, different placement. Number 3, ang iyong aso ay mabait. Ang aso mo ay mabait. Your dog is friendly. Again, the long form leads the phrase and the short form follows the noun. So the key reminder here is iyo before the noun and mo after the noun. And remember that the short form can also come after the verb, but the long form cannot. Now, let's look at how to say his or her in Tagalog using the long form kanya and the short form niya. So this is kanya versus niya. They mean the same thing, but the difference is in where they appear in the sentence. So here in our table, you'll see 4 examples using different nouns so you can clearly see the pattern. For our first example, ang kanyang sapatos ay bago. Ang sapatos niya ay bago. His or her shoes are new. Notice that we are also using a linker after the kanya. So we are linking it to sapatos. We are using the linker ng because kanya ends with a vowel. So from kanya, it becomes kanyang sapatos. So in this example, long form before the noun, short form after the noun. Number 2, ang kanyang aso ay maliit. Ang aso niya ay maliit. His or her dog is small. Same meaning, different placement. Number 3, ang kanyang bahay ay malaki. Ang bahay niya ay malaki. His or her house is big. Again, the long form leads the phrase and the short form follows the noun. In our fourth example, we are showing it that kanya can be used as a stand-alone pronoun. So in this example, it says, sa kanya ang kotse. The car is his or hers. For the short form, niya, we can use it after the verb as well, just like in our previous examples with the short form pronouns. Kinuha niya ang kotse. He or she took the car. So kinuha is a verb plus the pronoun niya. So this shows how the long form can stand alone, but the short form can follow a verb. So something the long form cannot do. Now let's move on to atin versus napin, which means are in English. Both forms are inclusive, which means they include the person you're talking to. So just like the other long form and short form pairs, the difference is in the placement, not the meaning. So we have 2 examples here. Number 1 example, ang ating bahay ay malinis. Ang bahay natin ay malinis. Our house is clean. The long form comes before the noun and the short form comes after the noun. For our example 2, we are showing here that the long form can stand alone. Our example here, para sa atin ito. This is for us. For the short form, we are showing an example here after the verb. Ginawa natin ito. We made this. Now, even though atin and natin both mean our, the English translation changes here because of how English works. So, if you notice in our example 2, and with our English translation, we do not see are there because English doesn't allow are to stand alone or follow a verb. So you can say this is for our or made our this. So even though the Tagalog meaning stays inclusive are, we translate is as us or we to make the English sound natural. So our key reminders here, long form, which is atin before the noun or standing alone, and the short form natin after the noun or after the verb. Both forms are inclusive. They include the listener, and the meaning stays the same, but English translations shift depending on the sentence. Now let's move on to amin versus namin. They both mean are in English, and these forms are exclusive, which means the person you're talking to is not included. So just like the other pronoun pairs, the difference is in placement, not meaning. Example number 1, ang aming bahay ay malinis. Ang bahay namin ay malinis. Our house is clean. Exclusive. So same meaning, but the long form comes before the noun. So amin comes before bahay, and then namin comes after the bahay. So in our example 2, we are showing the standing alone versus the after verb. So for our long form standing alone example, para sa amin ito. This is for us. For the short form after the verb, ginawa namin ito. So our verb here is ginawa and then the namin pronoun. Ginawa namin ito, we made this. So even though amin and namin both mean are exclusive, English doesn't allow are to stand alone or follow a verb. So just like with our previous example, so we translate them as us or we depending on the sentence. So the meaning stays the same, only the English translation changes so it sounds natural. So again, our key reminder, our amin before the noun or standing alone, in the short form namin after the noun or after the verb. So both forms are exclusive and they do not include the listener. Are you still following me? This is a longer lesson, so I want to make sure you're still with me. So now let's look at how to say your when you're talking to more than one person. So this is the plural form. We use the long form inyo and the short form ninyo. So inyo versus ninyo. So just like the other pronoun pairs, the difference is in placement, not meaning. We have our example number 1. Ang inyong bahay ay malinis. Ang bahay ninyo ay malinis. So your house is clean. Long form comes before the noun. So the inyo comes before bahay. And the ninyo comes after the bahay. Our example number 2 shows the standing alone versus the after verb. So we have here for the long form inyo, Para sa inyo ito. This is for you. And then the short form after verb, ginawa ninyo ito. Ginawa is the verb followed by ninyo. You made this. So again, even though inyo and ninyo both mean your in plural form, English doesn't allow your to stand alone or follow a verb. So we translate them as you depending on the sentence. The meaning stays the same, but only the English translation changes so it sounds natural. So again, our key reminders here, inyo comes before the noun, or you can use it as a standalone pronoun. And then the short form, ninyo, comes after the noun or after the verb. So both forms means you're in plural form. You're talking to a group. Finally, we have kanila versus nila. In English, it means their. So just like the other pronoun pairs, the difference is in placement, not the meaning. So we have our example number 1 here. Ang kanilang bahay ay malinis. Ang bahay nila ay malinis. Kanila comes before the noun bahay, and nila comes after the noun bahay. Our number 2 example shows the standing alone versus after verb. For our long form, standing alone, para sa kanila ito. This is for them. For the short form, after the verb, ginawa nila ito. Ginawa is the verb and then nila the pronoun. So again, even though kanila and nila both mean their, the English doesn't allow their to stand alone or follow a verb. So we translate them as them or they, depending on the sentence. The meaning stays the same, only the English translation changes so it sounds natural. So again, our key reminder, kanila before the noun or standing alone, and nila after the noun or after the verb. So both forms mean their. Now let's do a quick recap of our 14 Tagalog possessive pronouns. These pronouns come in 7 pairs, and each pair has the same meaning. The only difference is placement. First, we have the long forms. These go before the noun and they can also stand alone. Our long forms are akin, iyo, kanya, atin, amin, inyo, kanila. And next we have the short forms. These go after the noun or after the verb. Our short forms are ko, mo, niya, natin, namin, ninyo, and nila. Again, each long form and its matching short form mean the same thing. The meaning never changes, only the placement changes. So remember, long form, before the noun or standing alone, short form, after the noun or verb. That's our full set of 14 possessive pronouns grouped into 7 pairs. Now it's time for our memory trick. Repeat after me. Long before, short after, meaning stays, only placement changes. One more time, nice and clear. Long before, short after, meaning stays, only placement changes. So remember, long form goes before the noun or can stand alone. Short form goes after the noun or after the verb. Can we seal it in? long before, short after meaning stays, only placement changes. And that brings us to the end of our lesson on the 14 Tagalog possessive pronouns. On this table, you can see all 7 pairs together. The long forms that come before the noun or can stand alone, and the short forms that come after the noun or after the verb. You can save or screenshot this table so you can use it as a guide in the future. And remember our memory trick: long before, short after meaning stays, only placement changes. If you can master all these 14 possessive pronouns and their usage, you will be more confident and more fluent in speaking Tagalog. Kung may mga tanong po kayo, isulat lang po sa komento at sisikapin ko na sasagutin ang bawat tanong po ninyo sa lalong madaling panahon. If you have questions, write it down in the comment section and I will try to respond as soon as I get a chance. Ayos lang po ba? Okay po ba? Paalam at hanggang sa muli. Kita-kita po tayo ulit. Ingat!